Spags, I'm back. I'm not battling, poor internet connection, drapes that are distracting you. And today we're going to draft a BBM3 team on your account.
Yeah, we are going to head over to my account today to compete for $10 million in prizes and Underdog Fantasy's Best Ball Mania 3. And I'm going to talk about a fantasy analyst I drafted with today that, quite frankly, Pete, I was not impressed by the draft, but we'll hit that right after this intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Splash Play, the fantasy football podcast for every game under the sun. And once again, I'm Chris Spags, joined by your friend and mine, a newly refreshed tan on one Peter Overzet. How are you doing, Pete?
Yeah, wow. Thanks for noticing. My mother-in-law was like, "Oh, Pete, you're really getting tan these days." And then my father-in-law was like, "You should probably put on some more sunscreen. You ever want to get in the shade a little bit?" So yeah, real push and pull. But yeah, I do enjoy attempting to get a tan in the summer because I know I'm going to look like Mike Leone by December, anyways.
That is a fair point. And also, you got to bring out the musculature you've been working so hard on.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's funny, Spags, how you feel so oppressed not having a bench club, for underdog. But some of us, just kind of find a way to do both. Spags, have you ever thought about doing that?
No, I can only do one thing at a time, Pete. As you're going to find out come this December, hard to get in those workouts some days. But we're doing the best we can. And of course, make sure you're following at Peter Overzet, following at Chris Spags, and following at Splash Play Pod so you can find out whenever we're doing a show. Of course, subscribe to the Pete's channel, subscribe to the Splash Play channel as well, because tomorrow, Friday here, if you are not going on vacation, if you're hanging out at home, feel free to hang out with me and do a Splash Play solo stream where I'll be doing usually 2 best ball drafts I'll be doing on Underdog. So go check that out tomorrow on the Splash Play channel. And of course, subscribe on there for our March. Actually, Pete, we are closing in on 1,000 subs. I guess I'll say closing in very liberally. We're like 150 or so subs away on YouTube, but also closing in on 1,000 followers on Twitter. So I feel like that's the engagement threshold you want to hit to show that you have like any kind of actual pull.
I mean, Spags, you've, famously, since we started the Splash Play Twitter account, you've promoted the follow back. I think even some people have gotten upset that you continue to push that thing. I mean, have you considered doing a stretch goal to get us to 1,000? Like you will, send everyone a cookie who subscribes between now and 1,000, a handwritten note. Maybe Spags will review your best ball team online if you can show proof that you're a new subscriber. I don't know, Spags. I'm just thinking like anything to push us across the finish line here.
No, I think that's a smart way to look at it, Pete. Certainly something I should have thought of, I guess. But I'm just assuming people will have goodwill and just enjoy hanging out on a Friday or catching up on a Saturday and a Sunday, having a lazy gin and tonic. Who was a gin and tonic in the morning on a Saturday? I don't know. Whatever alcoholics are out there that want to watch a best ball stream. I think that's what I'm going for, Pete. Just relying more on the content than gimmickry. But I'll do gimmickry if the people want gimmickry.
No, you already, Spags, we're past the point of gimmickry. You follow anyone back who follows the Splash Play handle. I mean, the biggest gimmick of all.
Well, I would also say too, like I wanted to bring it up to you, and I guess we'll do it on the air. So the Spike Week guys last week did a hot dog eating contest, and we're at similar subscriber levels. Pete and I have talked about that on this show. That I try to, we love those guys, Bime4 and Coakley and Silas. A lot of those guys are doing great work, and fully recommend subscribing over there. But it is like you want to stay neck and neck, and they did a hot dog eating competition. Pete, we used to be the ones doing silly antics for much less viewers on the regular than we have now, and I feel like we're kind of resting on our laurels that, quite frankly, are not that long.
Yeah. No, but they did. Ours was just like a pure sprint to eat it. They did, I believe. I haven't got to catch the stream. I saw some of the highlights there. I believe they were trying to do a hot for every pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, our version of that is, we do the Italian characters, I get stoned again, and we do a slice of za for every pick.
Could we do one puff per round? Could we be like the edgy fantasy football podcast that likes to smoke a little weed but does it like off camera so it's like really sly?
Yeah, that'll really fool people of I didn't inhale on camera, so you can't get me on that one.
As it looks like Snoop Dogg's hanging out in the room with us. I don't know, just throwing ideas out there. If you guys have your suggestions, feel free to throw them in, whether it be to get subs or not. Pete, what do you have?
No, I'm just doing like the math. Like there's typically nine slices in a pizza. If you and I both had 2 larges,
what kind of pizzas are you getting? There's 8 slices in a pizza.
8 slices?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I wanted it to be 18 so bad because I was like, if there's 9 and 9, and then for each one you get a pick. I don't know. I didn't think it through. Fucking 8 slices. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's, pizza is normally 16 inches or 18 inches, I think, for an extra large. And then again, I'm Italian here. Hey, pizza is 18 inches. But no, that's, I feel like going for 9 slices. That's insane. How would you split those pizzas up?
I know. Basically what we'd have to do is each get 2 pizzas, and then it was basically you get a pick for every slice you eat. Um, and then so someone would end up getting more picks. I don't want to do this though. It sounds awful.
All right, so I want to bring to the table, and actually, Pete, I'll throw to you first. Of course, if there's any NFL news, I did not get to read the Fantasy Life newsletter today. Of course, you are grinding so lovingly on. The website's up as well, worth checking out on Fantasy Life, fantasylife.com, right?
Yeah, we just launched our new website too. It's actually really cool the amount of free tools that they have up there. If you're trying to do screeners, like we have air yards database, all the like rushing, receiving, defensive efficiency stats. Pretty good place to just go and check. We have ADP across underdog, FFPC, NFC. So it is a pretty nice one-stop shop for some of those tools there if you're looking for them.
So I saw you had your exposure to the newsletter today, just talking about some of your picks, or that might have been yesterday, but any news items that are worth bringing to people, I guess, besides the elephant in the room, the Baker Mayfield elephant in the room that has a lot of ramifications. And I should give you the floor first before I start to opine about what this means for the greater fantasy industry.
No, I mean, it does feel like there's already been a ton of content about it. I think it's interesting in that it's just giving everyone more confidence in Baker and DJ Moore. And it does seem like Robbie Anderson now is going to get vaulted up. I know ETR has a really aggressive ranking on him. I think, at the time of the news, they were, some 70 spots ahead of ADP on Robbie Anderson. So we'll probably see him creep up, maybe just after that, like Jamison Crowder range would probably be my guess of where his ADP settles. So they're still not the most exciting team. We were talking about on the Swolecast where it's like, people aren't really going out of their way to double stack the Panthers. So I'm probably still going to pick my spots there, but it does. I think I was listening to Hayden and Josh talk about this, and I agreed with their take where they said it like raises the floor of this team, where it's like with Sam Darnold, they really could crater. The ceiling is probably not that much different. It's hard to imagine Baker just setting the world on fire. Unless, CMC and DJ Moore are just getting loose for all kinds of touchdowns. So yeah, I think that just confidence level goes up, but I didn't really think it had, massive ramifications on stuff.
Yeah, Football Outsiders, guys. I think Mike Tanier in particular, who does the walkthrough column, that's really become a big thing in the industry that people are reading every single week. So make sure to check that out. If you want to check out some Football Outsiders things, that's one of the first I'd recommend. But he was talking about how like this trade basically was like, okay, so the Panthers are getting a little bit money off the deal. The Browns are paying part of his contract. They're also giving up a really low draft capital pick. So it just kind of seemed like a trade that neither team wanted to make. I do think Mayfield's an upgrade on Sam Darnold, and I say that again, knowing that I cape for all the USC alums on this show a lot, but I feel like with Baker Mayfield, the thing to me is like there are a lot of great stats that kind of point to him really being disrupted last year by the shoulder issue, which just kind of lingered, and then he tried to play through it and it just got worse, and the team certainly didn't have a lot of great things going around him with the Odell stuff as well. But I feel like to me, like Baker has some positive things he could point to. Like he performed well before that shoulder injury. He's always been a pretty good deep ball thrower in terms of both volume and accuracy. So I get taking the flyer on him. It just feels like a spot where nobody really wanted Baker. The Seahawks, right before this trade, put out like a news item about, we are not interested at all in Baker Mayfield, but seemed odd. And I feel bad for Baker. Like he doesn't seem like this bad of a dude, but it really feels like the Panthers took him just because nobody else at all wanted him.
Well, yeah, and I think he has to do a little bit of kind of a rehab on his image because now everyone is like, oh, he had this falling out with the team. Is he, a locker room cancer? Is he hard to deal with all of these things? So I think he knew he was going to have to take a pay cut. He wasn't going to get, no one clearly teams were not, knocking on his door to get him to come play for him. So I do think he has to kind of reboot his image and his career a little bit. And this isn't the worst spot to do it. I mean, he doesn't have hardly any quarterback competition. He gets some decent weapons. I think it's a really good fit for both teams.
Yeah, division kind of in transition as well with, Tom Brady retired and then came back. So you expect there to be continuity there, but that is something that could be a bit of a red flag. The Saints changing over their coaching staff. Atlanta, we've talked about here. I do believe in that team and what they can do, hopefully in the second year of Arthur Smith, but it still seems like there's enough bad signs around them, especially in the Vegas futures. So a spot where Baker could be useful. And Pete, obviously this means a lot for the Seattle Seahawks, of course, who were tied so much to Baker Mayfield. People reporting that there were jerseys in the back end of the Seattle Seahawks merch store, all this this stuff. And I have to say, like, I really think this makes me very confident that Drew Lock is starting at least a handful of games next year, Pete, if not the entire season. And the U.S. Open and I are watching with wide open eyes here, hoping that Drew Lock pays off all these dividends.
Yeah. I forget what podcast I was listening to. Maybe I was listening to Davis and Beimford talk the other day. And your personal brand is now so firmly tied to Drew Lock that they even had to offer an apology to you before saying how there's zero chance that Drew Lock is the quarterback come week 17. So congratulations. I mean, your name's getting dragged through the mud, but what did they say, Spags? No, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
No, especially if you're trying to get those subs up, trying to get some thumbnails on myself out there on YouTube. No, I support it. And I'm fully willing to be tied with my brand of Drew Lock now, especially that we got one more potential risk out of the way. Like I talked about those Baker Mayfield deep throw stats. Like that's what Drew Lock's advantage is. And I saw people also tag me a lot. And Jared over at PFF posted a meme about like, oh, here's the thing with Drew Lock. Like he's going to throw it as deep as anybody. The issue is he has no clue where it's going. And it's like, I get that that's the perception of him. But when you have DK Metcalf, when you have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf also playing for a contract here, young running backs with Rashad Penny and Ken Walker, like I like the spot a lot for Drew Lock, and I'll continue to beat the drum. And Pete, if this ends up being right, like this is gonna be one thing that I feel like there will be reverberations throughout the industry for me and Drew Lock.
Yeah. It's I would say low risk, high reward for you, but it's a high risk, low reward. Everyone is going to remember this call regardless. And if Drew Lock is playing in week 17, it's probably going to be incredibly underwhelming and you won't even be able to victory lap it. So it's the perfect non-asymmetric type of bet that you like to make.
60 combined total for that New York Jets, Seattle Seahawks game in week 17. That's what I'm hoping for. Pete, it's time here to get into a Best Ball Mania draft. And here's how you can tell Pete wants to move the show along. He pulled up the screen share on my computer before I even had a chance to.
Busy afternoon today, Spags. I got 4 shows, trying to cram a bunch of stuff in. Need to write the newsletter for tomorrow. Busy day. We got to rip this draft off.
All right. So we are now in the draft room here. And Pete, as I was talking about earlier, I did do a couple drafts. So I actually did one with 2 different fantasy. Well, actually, I did a handful. Like there's a lot of fantasy analysts now. It seems like starting to get their druthers with the best ball drafts, trying to dive in. One person who actually didn't bring up to you before the show that also had a baffling draft. And this is a person, Pete, you've recently done shows with. I've recently done shows with, or at least a show with. Do you know who this person was who had a very perplexing draft, I think, about a half hour before our show?
Wait, who
Not who we talked about. Another person.
No. You said it's someone that I've done shows with?
Yep.
Was it Davis?
Pat Kerrane drafted 4 quarterbacks in the draft right before the show.
Like a clear auto draft situation, or he waited really late and was going for something funky?
He got 2 as his QB2, so I don't know. I could pull it up in a second if you want, but it threw me for a loop, and it was one where I was like, "What is Kerrane doing here?" And like the opening of the draft was like very like Kerrane. It was like we got some early wide receiver value, got some nice running backs. So they got Breece Hall and one other guy, and then it was 4 QBs, and I was like, "What is going on? Is Kerrane just completely distracted?"
So who ended up being his quarterbacks? I need to know if he deserves to be roasted. Tua.
Let me pull it up. I'll pull it up on.
Yeah, let's pull up this Kerrane draft.
All right, hold on. Completed. All right. I'm also now just shy of 100 Best Ball Mania drafts. I've got 97 going for myself.
I've made some progress. I've been on a pretty good one a day routine. I think I'm up to like 77 or 78.
We're on the clock here. Justin Jefferson, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been missing out on Jefferson a lot. Ended up with a lot of Chase, but not a ton of Jefferson.
All right. So this draft, let me make sure this is the right one with Kerrane.
Yeah, this is when you're talking about a Kerrane 4 QB draft, you have to wonder if internet refresh issue.
All right, I'm pulling it up now. Hold on one second. I have to stop this screen first, of course. Yeah. Pete, as a production expert,
you're growing.
How this works.
Normally, the key is to not talk through what you're doing as you're doing it, so there's more of a sleight of hand to it all.
I'm used to these aspects of the solo stream, Pete, where I'm just narrating everything like I'm Mr. Rogers. You can see here, Pat in the 4 hole starts logically, I think, in a way that I find appealing. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, Gabe Davis, Breece Hall, AJ Dillon. Like this all makes sense.
Yeah,
like an elite tight end there, but looks like a good Kerrane draft, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we keep going down here
of this team.
So then we get to the QBs. So Justin Fields is his QB1. I guess I didn't realize that.
Ooh.
But he goes Fields. Yeah, Fields, Tua.
No, Pat. No, Pat. What are
And
you
then
doing?
let's see the full roster here. A lot of these not correlated either in
Pat,
any way.
Pat, I bet, dude. Oh, this is a clear internet outage, and or like Murphy had an emergency, and Pat just had to donate here. I'm going to go ahead right now, and I am going to distance my good friend, my co-manager, my co-host Pat Crane's name from this draft. It was an accident. He would never willingly do this. He also took Albert O over Greg Dulcich. I mean, I think someone hijacked this draft for him.
Well, I had to think about it. I was like, Kareem is like Daily Rojo, right? It was like what I was thinking about for myself. And I was like, yeah, that's him. Like, I'm confident that's the account. And yeah, really, it threw me for a loop, I had to say.
Incredible.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get the lowdown on that draft from Pat here. You know what? I'll message him now, and then maybe we could get the word on it.
All right, and we can see the draft here going. We're back to our draft, and yeah, there's one more analyst who drafted today. Pete, I'll tell you this one offhand. I don't want to pull the guy's account up because I don't want to out him. He is a guy who has a pretty good YouTube following, but I would say this is sort of my caveat that, like I wear on this show that a lot of what I've learned from best ball started with learning from Pete, watching his shows, engaging with that content, then trying to expand my knowledge base in the hopes that I bring something useful to the table. There are some guys out there, Pete, that I think, even if we don't say it out loud, we can say that there are some, analysts out there that pick up a following and maybe don't have the bona fides in the way that you'd want to see in terms of just research and knowledge base.
Sorry, say that again. I was typing to Pat. What was it?
No, it's okay. And I'm also getting spammed in the YouTube chat.
I know. I'm trying to block this guy. Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, look, I would say that. So like, would you be willing to agree with me, Pete, that there are sometimes guys who pick up a following in the fantasy industry, whether it be for, they've been doing it since 2002, let's say, whatever the case, I'm not calling anybody out specific in that way, but sometimes people are doing it forever. Sometimes people just kind of strike a chord with YouTube algorithms. Not every fantasy analyst out there, Pete, is good. Would you agree on that?
Yes, I think it's very safe to say I spend a lot of my time tweeting about the counselor. So yes, I'm well aware of this phenomenon.
So would you also say that if a fantasy analyst that you respected, we're on the clock here.
Let's get some Swift, baby. Come on, Spags. Draft a good running back for once in your life.
I would like Mark Andrews, but I'll take Swift for you just because you are a new dad, and I support new dads.
I did get breaking news from Pat. He has said multi-table failure. So he said, first time I tried it this year and ... still working out the kinks. My God.
So,
wow.
All right, there we go.
Wow. Sorry. Okay, so go. Where are you going with this? All
right. So let me
with
read
a
the team. Actually,
creator.
I'll do that. I won't pull it up on the screen so we won't out this person because I don't want to start beef, Pete. Like I'm a grown man now. I try not to start beefs with people, but sometimes when I see something, I want to point out that you shouldn't just blindly follow somebody because they have 60,000.
So you're doing the subtweet version of beef. I don't want to start beef, but I'm going to talk shit about this person.
All right. So what about this wide receiver group, Pete? In a 2-4-9-3 build, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown as your wide receiver 1. You have Michael Thomas as your wide receiver 2. We're on the clock again.
Let's see. Hang on one sec.
Pittman?
I don't know. I probably take Javonte Williams here, but I'm fine with Pittman because I know you get uncomfortable.
You know what? I'll get outside my comfort zone because I did draft a lot of nice 0 RB teams today. All right. So wide receiver 1, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Wide receiver 2, Michael Thomas. 3, Christian Kirk. 4, Robert Woods. 5, McCole Hardman. 6, Christian Watson. DJ Chark at 7. George Pickens at 8. KJ Hamler at 9. Does that sound like a good wide receiver group to you?
Honestly, it's fine, right?
Fuck. All right. Well, how about at QB? If you pair that group with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, both a little bit behind ADP.
So it's a 2 QB.
Yeah,
build?
2 elite QB build.
Yeah. I'm not a 2 elite QB guy unless I'm getting an extreme discount on one of them. I think there's too much opportunity cost.
And then what if the first 3 picks were Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, and Javonte Williams?
How many total running backs did they take?
4.
Sounds like they did a fine structural build.
I don't agree with it. That's no wide receivers in the first 6 rounds.
No, it's not ideal. Like if you're doing hyper fragile, you cannot do double elite quarterback if you're doing hyper fragile. What are the tight ends?
I put it away just because I felt like I lost the argument.
No, I mean it's not like it just wasn't as egregious as I thought it was going to be.
The tight ends: Pat Freiermuth, Hayden Hurst, who I was scooped on for no reason to, and Brevin Jordan.
Okay, yeah. I mean, my biggest quibble is I don't think you can go double elite QB with hyper fragile and also miss out on an elite tight end. But they honestly seem to, other than that rogue quarterback pick, seem to kind of understand at least how to allocate resources after that.
I would
Sorry,
say
Spags.
if you put that in the roster construction explorer, I don't think it would be looked upon favorably is all I would say. And it stuck out to me that, like, I don't know, you shouldn't take like your first 5 picks being quarterbacks and running backs that aren't correlated. Like, I don't know. It just stuck me is like,
This was a best ball mania draft.
Yes.
Yeah. And no, there were, and it's hard for me. I'm just hearing the structural numbers. You're saying there wasn't a single stack on there?
There was like I think a Mahomes McCole Hardman stack was the only thing that was there.
Yeah. Look, Spags, a lot of people out there aren't ripping off hundreds of these drafts. But yes, your point is well taken.
Okay.
Be careful who you listen to. On the other hand, Spags, sometimes this is a gift. I sometimes very much hope for, I want to have my cake and eat it too, right, Spags? I want to share what I think is good information and talk through what I think is good strategy. But if everyone thought exactly like us, the rooms would be miserable. I've done ship chasing drafts. It sucks drafting with everyone who thinks the same. So I like when these content creators have big platforms and they're pushing strategies that I don't think are optimal. It does allow balance in the universe. And so I'm thankful for them. Like, I wish Counselor was the biggest fantasy analyst in the world. Like, it would help me out.
I feel like we might have missed a little bit of a wide receiver avalanche, Pete.
No, we'll just take your guy DK Metcalf.
All right, fine. I just don't like the way this draft broke, and this is how I feel every time I take more than one running back in the first 3 to 4 rounds.
Well, I guess the one thing is this is a red badge brigade draft, so that's definitely contributing to things. We're gonna be fine though.
All right, I just don't, this actually might be the only times I think I've taken DeAndre Swift are in rooms that you have told me to take DeAndre Swift.
I think DeAndre Swift is an awesome pick. Man, really? This chatbot guy is creative and resilient today.
I like that he's trying to set up settlement as though like he's the one who's doing it. Like, oh, I don't know who this mystery guy is.
Yeah. Keep going, buddy. It takes me a millisecond to block you. And I like seeing your creativity shine through.
I just, like what would possess you to do that? Like, I've disliked some things. I dislike this fantasy person's content. I'm not gonna go hop in the chat and go spam my days away.
Let's see what Corbin Welsh is gonna do to us here.
No, he's got Travis Etienne, a nice European sounding name that I can tether myself to.
Those Brits, they're just a hop and a skip from France, always grabbing Travis Etienne.
Go to the let me see the queue. Country, we'd call our wanker a Nick Chubb.
Let me see the queue.
Yeah, okay.
Let's take Kittle.
Like, Breece Hall seems pretty appealing, but I guess Kittle too. I wouldn't mind.
Kittle's great.
Okay. I like Breece Hall at this value point. It's just now that we took other running backs as decent values.
I mean, Kittle is, I think, equally, if not a better value. I mean, Kittle anytime after in the 5th round is just absurd to me.
I agree. Yeah. It's weird. Like, I feel like there's more variability for Darren Waller, where he'll go in like the mid 30s. Sometimes he'll go in like late 40s. Kittle is just steadily now going late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to me. He was a 2-3 turn pick last year, and the ceiling on this offense is much higher this year. Don't really get it. And we know how much of an edge a dominant tight end is, and a tight end that can put up 30+ point weeks and really separate from the field during the big money weeks. He's a smash pick.
No, I strongly agree with that. And I actually been taking some more Vegas Niner stacks just because, like, I think that's still my favorite week 17 matchup, knowing that it's weatherproof, knowing that I think these offenses still a little bit undervalued. Like, Derek Carr will sometimes go in like the 120 range, and I don't think that's right. I'm a big believer in that game. Like, I think obviously we could joke all we want about the Jets Seattle game. If I had to like really put my money behind one game, I do think that the Vegas Niners game to me is looking like my favorite week 17.
Yeah, it's a fun one. I am definitely excited about that game. I'm also laughing. I didn't pick up on this because when you floated Breece Hall, I was like, I have been having to twist your arm to take 2 running backs. Why are you floating Breece Hall? Nick saw right through it. You were just excited about the correlation.
I mean, look, it looks like a great week 17 correlation, Pete. As we know, that's the most important thing. And when you see your favorite fantasy analyst not doing it on underdog, you have to ask some questions.
That's right. Yeah, correlation bros on edge early here. Um, I am. I just don't stress the correlation early. I worry about it once we really get rolling.
Yeah, look, I just thought Brees Hall is a good value there. Wasn't really informed by the DK Metcalf thing, and I personally prefer an elite tight end rather than trying to force on another running back there. But I think if we hadn't taken one of Swift or Javante, I would have probably just been like, let's just do Hall.
Yeah. Let's see here, man. Russell Gage going in the 6th round these days. That
Yeah,
we're close.
Cooper.
We're close to the flippening there, right? Because he just Godwin and Gage just went back to back, right? Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. That doesn't feel totally right to me, especially if, I have tried to take what you said about trying to draft more for weeks, 15 through 17, and just consider that as a way to gauge ADPs. It feels like Russell Gage would not be drafted right after Chris Godwin in that kind of scenario.
No, it's probably the correct answer is they probably are both a little too pricey right now. I mean, I still love Godwin. I've been drafting him at basically all of his prices. Who do we have available to us here? Oh, I think I mean Elijah Moore is an awesome pick for us if he makes it.
He's in the queue. So don't you screw us here, GA.
Yeah, Amari, I mean, I've been out on Amari, but I guess at these prices, it's getting a little more interesting. But yeah, definitely Elijah.
Right, there you go.
There you go, Spags. I mean, how about an olive branch? We get you another wide receiver and a correlated one at that.
I mean, what if Tyler Lockett lines up there? Then it feels like we're asking for a Drew Lock clip. People were demanding a Drew Lock clip earlier when I soapboxed about him a little bit.
Who? No one was demanding a clip.
I think OX was demanding it, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Corbin Welsh would probably love it too. Drew Lock, the old-timey detective.
Doesn't seem like Andrew is demanding it. Maybe I should make a Geno Smith clip for us.
There's no way, okay, so Geno Smith to me is he's not the guy you get to in week 17. He's the guy that if anything, you start in the beginning and you're like, all right, well, we know what the ceiling is here. Let's go with the other guy. Somebody on Twitter was like, oh yeah, Pete Carroll probably would love to start Drew Lock because you just have another running back. And I'm like, isn't that what we fucking love in fantasy, is a quarterback that's basically a running back?
Someone saying Jets Seahawks week 17 overrated. I mean, I've never heard anyone overrating this game. Spags is literally the only one who likes this game.
It's true. When you're right, you're right. So I don't love anything here.
I would probably just take Ayuk here, and just double up on the Niners.
Okay.
What do you think?
I mean, well, shouldn't we take Trey Lance first then? He does go. I'm gonna take Trey Lance. He's going too fast for me. I think he would want to wait on him.
Scroll up. See, yeah, I guess I felt like we had a little more quarterback cover with Burrow, but how long until we picked again?
Yeah, we don't pick until the 90s.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I've seen Trey Lance go in 70 in a couple of drafts. Again, I spammed a lot of drafts this afternoon because the mother-in-law's here taking care of Lucas. So I finally can actually, focus on the important things in life. And Trey Lance was going in the 70s and a couple of them. He's going a lot where I think he's being properly seen up. He was even in an SI fantasy article today. Were late round QBs that you need to know. And I was like, yeah, okay, we need to know Trey Lance, and Derek Carr.
I just love this image. Your mother-in-law taking care of your child while you draft best ball teams and then furiously write down how you're ready to roast this content creator who double tapped 2 elite quarterbacks in a hyper fragile build while she's throwing up, while Luke is throwing up on your mother-in-law.
Well, the issue with Luca right now is I'm trying to make sure that everybody in the house recognizes that he's got to be forced to take naps because he's been overtired a lot lately because people want to just keep him up and just hang out with him. And that's not the most beneficial for when you have the baby, as some of the dads in the chat, I'm sure, can attest to. So I was just downstairs, in fact, hoping he was getting put down for a nap, working out, putting my phone up on the thing so I could see when my pick was up. So I was getting that high T going, but still not drafting running backs.
I don't recognize Michael in the chat. And when people ask questions in earnest, I'm happy to talk about it. Michael says, why do people like Trey Lance over Justin Fields? My guess and why I like Trey Lance over Justin Fields is just because that scheme and that offense and the weapons are just way more equipped to put up monster scores. We've basically seen the Bears not surround Fields with any additional weapons this year after losing Robinson and Pringle. Sorry to all the Velus Jones truthers out there. And not really allowing Justin Fields to succeed via like RPOs, just no creativity in the offense. So I think the offensive ceilings in Chicago versus San Francisco are in just like different stratospheres. And but I understand what you're saying. Like if you swap Justin Fields and Trey Lance, like I would still be way in on the Niners and Fields over Lance. So it's more of like a team thing. But I get your point. Like they came in as kind of similar prospects with similar skill sets in that way. But yeah, I don't think it's close.
Yeah, I think the weapons are so much better for the Niners. Also, the coaching is so much better. Like, and the Bears didn't go to an offensive coach; they went to a defensive coach, which I think reflects to me a little bit more poorly on the outlay. And actually, like I like Darnell Mooney. Like I think he's a little bit undersized, but like in terms of his profile, he's had a 25% target share earlier in his career, which could portend a breakout. But I think Trey Lance, like I know, I think it was Beinford talking about it recently, that he was trying to do projections, or yeah, I'm pretty sure it was him. And he's talking about like Trey Lance. Basically, if you're doing his rushing projection, it's like you basically have to project him for an ungodly amount of touches in a way that you can't project many quarterbacks, and that is something you can't say about Justin Fields, even if he does make some improvements. Traylon Burks.
Yeah, that looks good to me. Yeah, I'm buying this Traylon Burks dip. The only question is if the dip keeps coming. Like I was talking on Swolecast today that I thought it was weird that just as much as people are down on Burks, that he's still ahead of Garrett Wilson. Like that just seems like such an obvious ADP flipping to me. So, but yeah, I'm going to keep buying Burks as he drops.
Yeah, I mean, he's my highest exposed Best Ball Mania player right now at receiver, and I feel perfectly okay about that. I was actually on a Twitter thread with this guy, actually Tommy Stocks, who sometimes is in our chat, so he's a nice guy, but he's like a player takes guy, and he was saying like, oh, I don't see the upside in Gabe Davis. Like he also doesn't like Bateman. Like he doesn't like all these guys that are like, the young guys that kind of profile somebody that could break out. And I think for me, I'm always want to take guys like Burks or Mooney, or really like Bateman, especially DK Metcalf, like anybody that people are like trying to poke holes in because they weren't great last year or they don't have a profile from last year. And Burks, to me, like all the college numbers, like he's the guy that comes in probably best equipped to handle a big load in the NFL, you would think.
Yeah, and I mean the market is just so kind of irrational sometimes with these news reports. I mean the famous one last year, and I'm not saying Traylon Burks is Jamar Chase, but they were both heavily drafted wide receivers. It was all the drop stuff with Jamar Chase last year in the preseason. We literally saw his ADP drop from like the late fourth to the early sixth in some drafts just because of that report. And that's kind of what this asthma one feels like to me. Like, did anything really change with the Burks projection? Do we really think the Titans, or let's make this pick here.
Yeah. Should we do Walker?
Or
sure. Harris?
I wouldn't mind taking Claypool too, if we just don't want to get buried by this avalanche.
Okay. Well, let's see if I can get there. I got him. All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind taking Walker here, and we did miss out on Lockett, as the chat pointed out too. So the Drew Lock stack getting less appealing, but I suppose Noah Fant still lurks out there, Pete.
I like Noah Fant. No, but this one too, it just like when I sometimes look at the board like that, I do think we're playing a little catch up at wide receiver because of the Javonte Williams pick. So I don't mind taking Claypool a little bit ahead of ADP. And then you saw how many good kind of like running back options there were there. And I think we could kind of push it a little bit here. And basically, I mean, you could go back to the board. Like if we were able to get kind of two of those running backs, and it would require a couple of them to fall. Like basically any of the green we see on the board here, I think we could justify a 4 running back build if we kind of even double tapped two of these running backs here.
No, it's definitely not an approach I'm usually doing, because I definitely am always taking a few in the late rounds to try to get just more guys that it can be a lottery ticket for me. But yeah, I don't mind taking some running backs coming up. Somebody had a point. Oh yeah, Claypool. So like the Claypool thing is interesting because Deontay Johnson, like that news coming out about the Steelers, and they're like, we're not paying any receiver $20 million. Feels like that's bad juju, no pun intended, for Deontay Johnson. And what we just saw, they handled Juju too. Like they would have taken him back for the cheap, but even I think the Chiefs got him for like not a crazy contract, and they didn't want to hit that. It feels like that kind of portends like Johnson maybe having one of those cursed years where the effort's not fully there and Claypool does take that leap?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like all of the Steelers at or around ADP right now. I grabbed Deontay Johnson when he slips a couple picks. I would say I'm above market on Chase Claypool. I'm willing to take him about a round ahead of ADP if I get, in spots like this. And then Pickens, I'm always happy to kind of select if I'm setting up a correlation thing there. But yeah, it does feel to me like Chase Claypool has more outs to having a smash year. Just when you think about these prices, like, Deontay Johnson would probably have to score a shit ton of touchdowns to end up as like a second round pick next year. And his kind of projection is just so much more volume based, where Chase Claypool with his, yards after catch ability, deep downfield ability, kind of touchdown expectation. I feel like there's just more outs to him destroying his ADP in jumping up, 5-6 rounds as a pick next year. Like if Chase Claypool is a 4th round pick next year, like that wouldn't shock me at all. Where it would kind of shock me if Deontay Johnson was like a 1-2 turn pick next year.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. And Claypool, just to me, like 60 points in draft capital that you're giving up for taking Deontay Johnson over Claypool. And I don't know that it should be that way, especially with the new quarterback situation, whether it's Trubisky or Pickett. Like I certainly think it's Pickett, and Pickett showed no fear of throwing the deep ball. So Kareem Hunt fell more, and that feels pretty nice here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should scoop this up here.
All right. Yeah, it's not. Nobody ever wants to take Kareem Hunt. I know you're more of a Dearness Johnson guy, but almost 20 picks behind ADP or 20 picks behind ADP. That's a lot.
I'm a bull. I forget who I was talking about this with, but I mean the Dearness Johnson both cut and trade rumors have been out there for a while now, and I love Hunt and Johnson both as picks, because if one of them gets moved, the other is going to see such a big boost in value right now, and then to get him when we are, in a nice running back pocket of the draft at a really extreme value, I think makes a ton of sense.
And Josh pointing out too that he could be the Claypool could be the Mike Williams of last year, jump from rounds 10-ish to 3 to 4, same type of wide receiver. That makes sense. Like a deep ball guy who could just get there with the touchdown volatility, which ran bad for him last year. I'm intrigued by the Pittsburgh offense. Like it's hard to sort of justify Pickett right now until like he's going to start at some point in the year, you would think, but I guess it's possible Trubisky's just mediocre enough to keep it going. But like if that offense, if you knew Pickett was going to start, like I feel like the Steelers stack to me is pretty appealing because they and Baltimore could both be much more offensively minded than they were last year.
Yeah, no, for sure. Harbs, our buddy, hello from Copenhagen. Enjoy Harbs. That sounds very fun.
I feel like has Harbs been the one? Is he the one in Europe? No, there was another guy who was complaining about not being able to draft while on vacation in Europe. Right?
Yeah, I will also say, I mean, Penny here it looks pretty nice to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't take Walker, so that fits my brain logic of we didn't take Walker, so something's wrong with Ken Walker and that sort of play. And Rashad Penny, like I was getting a lot of Penny earlier in the drafts, and now he just doesn't fall where I am a lot of ADP wise. But like he's a good value, and it's totally possible he holds off Kenneth Walker enough to be useful.
Yeah, and I kind of we're in a fun spot with this draft now where I think we have a lot of luxury as far as how we build this out. We could easily do a 2 QB, 2 tight end build here, and then that would allow us to still draft 5 more wide receivers if we were okay with 4 running backs. And I think you can make a case for a 5th running back late on this team for sure. That wouldn't really bother me. But I also think if we're feeling exposed at wide receiver, that we could definitely justify a 10 wide receiver build. So I kind of like the flexibility here.
What are you thinking we should be trying to do at QB?
So this could be another instance where if we're not feeling as exposed at wide receiver, where we could build out like a 3 quarterback build where we're grabbing, like a Zach Wilson and Kenny Pickett, or Zach Wilson and Ryan Tannehill. So
wait, isn't there another combination there that's available because of our receivers?
No, I'm kind of just scanning. I guess. You're saying Jacoby Brissett with Kareem Hunt?
No, I think there's a guy who's had some clips on the show.
Oh, Jared Goff with DeAndre Swift, because DeAndre Swift will catch some passes. Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
We did pass up Kirk Cousins, and like I'm okay with it, but it does feel like maybe we could have taken Kirk Cousins over Penny. That'd be one pivot that we could have made. Because we have Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I should have advocated more for Kirk Cousins, but I don't know. Kind of didn't
You know,
occur to me, for being
shit
honest.
happens.
It was feeling like we both wanted to really do like a scanning the bottom of the barrel for QB2. All right. Let's see. It's funny. Sam from FTN gets in all these drafts. Like, I wonder if this is like he's like part of my whole process. I got to make sure to get into every streamer draft possible.
I know. I mean, Sam's a smart dude and a grinder. I'm kind of offended that he thinks we're so, plus EV to draft with.
He doesn't know that these guys are steaming up wide receivers left and right. If someone's good amount of a yellow on the board, it looks like, especially that left side of the board.
I think we recovered pretty well. And we have volume on our side here too, where we're gonna get to 9 or 10 wide receivers.
Right.
Also, I mean, Freiermuth is a slam dunk pick for us here.
Yeah, I'm with that. He's been falling. He was falling in, I think, about half the drafts I had today too, and I don't really know why. Like, sometimes those things happen, and I really don't have any indication why. If it's just variance being in different rooms, but it does feel like to me like Freiermuth maybe a little bit undervalued compared to some of these other guys in this range.
I think so, but oh no, Spags. Oh no. Bye week Twitter is going to come for us. Scroll down to our tight ends. Look at our tight ends. Oh no. Oh no,
well, week
Spags.
9, lit on fire.
Wow.
Gonna have to bury our heads in the sand for week 9. Week 9 doesn't exist. Week 9, the least important week in football. A new video coming out in the Deposit Kingdom channel.
Let's see here. What's the what was Freiermuth's ADP? Did we value hound that one?
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, 16 picks.
Oh yeah. Oh, 16 picks.
Not bad.
And I also kind of like some of these wide receiver options here for us. You can make cases. Devontae Parker gives us another backdoor stack option with Mac Jones. Jalen Tolbert gives us a correlated option with Treylon Burks. And then go back. There was one more I was going to mention, DJ Chark, if we want to build out a double stack with Goff and Swift. So I'm good with Tolbert goes. So I would say Parker or Chark here for me.
We could also do well, I guess we're done at running back for now. Let's go Chark. I don't get a lot of Goff. Though we don't have anybody from Chicago as a bring back. I guess we could get Herbert maybe at some point if we wanted. No, because I'm just so not used to drafting running backs this high, where I'm like recommending running backs, and we should not logically take another running back.
Yeah, I mean, I just think of like we use 2 early picks on them, and then we use 2 kind of, mid-round picks to get guys that, I mean, we feel pretty confident Kareem Hunt and Rashad Penny are going to be touching the ball a decent amount. It's not like they're contingency bait. Like, I think maybe if we had an Alexander Madison there, then we're like, all right, we for sure need a 5th. Whereas right now, I think it's more flexible, and that flexibility though would come with like either a really scooping value. Like if we had a guy drop another 20 picks after ADP, I think we have the green light to grab a 5th, or like in the 17th or 18th round. I think we could tack on another like big upside swing there as well.
How do you feel about what I was inverted here doing with the 2 tight ends, lower draft capital, but doing them back to back? Because that's actually an approach I've liked a lot when I've had the turn picks, where you just knock out a position, especially like the onesie positions like QB or tight end. And I think that's a sneaky move that sometimes winds up well, especially with this run of tight ends.
Yeah, let me see their other picks there. So we have Denver and New England.
I'll pull up his roster here. Hold on.
There.
There we go.
I mean, I do love those 2 tight ends as far as picks. Ooh, so we got the Chargers double stack going there. And so no correlation here. We have a little team bet on New England. But yeah, I mean, I like those guys.
Yeah. I feel like that's one of the things with the turn that I like a lot, is just being able to kind of take guys that fit your build a little bit more, with the luxury of just having 2 picks in a row.
Yeah. And the other thing I like about the double tap, and the same way I was thinking about our Penny and Hunt picks, is, you get into dicey territory if you only take, say, like Alberto there, and you're like, this might need to be a 3 tight end build. Whereas when you double tap Alberto and Hunter Henry, I think you're pretty comfortable there with a 2 tight end build.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah.
The wide receivers, Curtis Samuel going in the 14th. I feel like that's not one I see the most often.
Yeah. How many wide receivers are we up to now? 6?
Yeah. We're at 6. We're at a 1-4-6-2.
And we're in a kind of nice spot with our kind of the quarterback stuff because we have a few different backstops here where I don't think we have to like force it here as well. And this could be, I was going to maybe float that we could do TDP as our fifth running back there just with our 49ers, just because there isn't really super attractive unless we want to tack on Juwan Jennings at the end, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, Danny Gray doesn't get drafted anymore, which makes me sad as somebody who got some early Danny Gray shares.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like a product of, it's not like I'm super confident that Danny Gray versus Juwan Jennings week 17, but the beats all say Juwan Jennings is the guy there right now.
All right, we're back on the clock here. We could take Zach Wilson if we wanted to, but we also, I guess, making the bet on the Lions now. We don't need to do that. Alec Pierce, maybe?
Yeah, I would do, or if we want to kind of like really go in on the Steelers, I would do Pickens or Pierce is fine with me.
All right, let's do Pickens. Why not? We'll get crazy.
Yeah.
Boy, this is a big bet with nobody on Baltimore. So we have to take somebody from Baltimore. I feel like if we're going to bet that big on Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And there's I mean, Baltimore's such an easy one there. I mean, we brought it up on the show the other day. I was saying, how do we want to be in the business of tailing the settlement bros? But there's been a little drumbeat about James Proche now, being the wide receiver too there. But any of Proche, Duvernay or Wallace, I think is a pretty easy tack on for us. And I've done some drafts specifically if I'm backdoor stacking Lamar, where I've grabbed two of those three guys. And I think even in a build like this, where we're going to get to 9 or 10 wide receivers, we're clearly heavy on this game. I think we could potentially go to Ravens receivers as well.
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like they all have an argument for him. Like Duvernay, I think profiled well out of college, and then Proche also, lesser competition I think at SMU, but profiled pretty well. Tylan Wallace looks pretty good if you pull up his profiles, his draft profiles, spark scores, all that stuff. Like I think it's tough to parse out that wide receiver 2 enough that taking any of them probably could be justified at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're at 1,472. I mean, I guess then the real question, if we are kind of game stacking that game, I'm pretty okay with, if you're comfortable with our current running backs, I'm okay with a 3. Is Zach Wilson still available or did he go?
He went.
He went. Bummer. I'm okay with a 3 QB build if we wanted to do like a Goff and Pickett. But
I mean, Goff is ahead of ADP right now.
Let's just take Goff because I think all of our other targets with like the Ravens wide receivers and stuff are going to be so far down that we're going to end up, reaching for someone anyways.
We talk about 2 different QBs with Trey Lance and Jared Goff, like in every imaginable way.
I like that pairing though.
Yeah, Goff has thrown 60 times a game last year, and it's not like the coaching staff changed. If anything, he just got more weapons, and the defense should be a little better, but it's not like they're going to be world beaters by any stretch.
Yeah, so I think my preference would be Kenny Pickett and a Ravens wide receiver to round this out. You could also, another option if you wanted the 5th running back. I do really like Tyler Beatty as a flyer. If we wanted to, but that would put us at how many wide receivers are we at right now?
We're at 7 right now.
So where are you at on the 3 QB thing? That's really the big decision here.
I mean, I think at this point we have to take Pickett. Like I'm normally not doing 3 QBs because I do try to get guys from round 6 through 13 if I can, just based on my general roster construction stuff that I like the most. But I think with Goff, we took on a little bit of iffiness there that I don't mind taking Pickett and just having 3 of the pass catchers. Like might as well just take the guy. I think at this point.
Well, and this is where Alex is. And if you guys missed it last week on Lulz, we had Osimo on, and we were talking a bit about his article talking about 3 QB stuff. And one of the most convincing I'm still not personally sold on just always jamming 3 QB builds because of that extra stuff. But when you end up in spots where you can naturally get to 3 QB builds, his point was that there's going to be a lot of natural selection bias to the teams that arrive in the finals. And that, if you have Mahomes that just goes nuclear 2 weeks in a row, almost all of the teams are going to have Mahomes. And similar, if there's 2 quarterbacks that go nuclear, a large percentage of the field is going to have both of those. So say in our scenario, Trey Lance goes nuts and there's a lot of Trey Lance teams. Well, now we have kind of 2 outs for unique stacks. And having a shot at a Goff stack hitting, or in this case, a Kenny Pickett stack hitting, just having another out at a unique stack once you get there is a very compelling argument to me for 3 QB teams.
Yeah, I mean, I guess was that what Alex was saying? 'Cause I didn't get to watch the whole episode of that, so I actually missed that
Yeah.
portion. But like, he was saying like you still should have them double stacked ideally.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because it's that same thing. Like you're hoping to get that kind of correlation benefit there. So, I'm feeling good about, we're now setting up, I guess, with San Francisco, we're going to just have a skinny stack with Lance, which is fine. But then we'll have the Pickett triple stack, and we'll have a Goff double stack. So I feel like that works out pretty well.
Well, we could take a Niners receiver, and we could take Pickett, and we could take a Ravens guy.
Wait, we have 3 picks left?
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought we were down to 2 picks. Yeah, totally.
So should I take Pickett now? I'm trying to think what's the order of operations here.
I don't think it matters, because all of the guys we want ADP wise are just like, we're not going to get sniped on anyone we want.
All right.
So we're definitely taking, we could get our double stack, right? We could get our Jawan Jennings and then our Baltimore bring back.
Yeah, that works. And spelling Jawan right on one try felt good.
Wow. I think I'm team Prosh now, honestly. I should pull up what that report was.
Well, I think it's that he's running with he's been the number 2 guy all camp, I guess. And then he also he did have some positive games down the home stretch of last year that it makes sense too with the carryover. I still think it's flatter though. Like it wouldn't shock me if Wallace passed him, or Prosh could get banged up too. He's not like a big receiver.
The Athletics, Jeff Zrebick, apologies if I butchered your name, reports James Prosh continually stood out in Ravens minicamp. Bateman will enter the season this team's clear-cut number 1 with the number 2 spot up for grabs. What did he say? I think he'll get a bigger opportunity this year, and it wouldn't surprise me if he emerges as a reliable target, particularly on 3rd downs for Jackson. Prosh has a really good hands, and there's a toughness and confidence about him that suggests he's ready to become a bigger contributor. So, yeah, like I said, I have zero, confidence on any of these guys, but because I had so much Wallace and Duvernay early, I've definitely started to kind of balance it out with some Prosh.
Justin Watson getting drafted is something I was not expecting. Okay. Let's take Jennings first, just in case somebody scoops us on Prosh, given that we just talked about him and gave a nice quote for him. And then this way we could still get Beatty and get some Ravens correlation late.
Yeah. Well, or Wallace or Duvernay.
Yeah. Or Wallace or whatever. Duvernay's still sitting there.
Put them all in the queue so the chat isn't just staring at one name.
Okay. Wallace.
I was dying so I wasn't on ship chasing last night. I tuned in at the very end. And Pat went for the robust queue strategy of just putting every single player in the queue. Just a ballsy strategy. 1, just advertising to the chat what you want to do. And 2, with Pat's internet connection. And sometimes you'll get that refresh glitch on Underdog sometimes. And I normally never get it on desktop, but sometimes on my phone, I'll get that little glitch. And whoever's in the queue is who's going.
I think that the queue, I use the queue a lot more when I was first getting my feeling for everything and like the week 17 correlations and the stacks. And now I don't use the queue very much, but on a stream, I don't see the benefit to using the queue because I feel like it fucks up the process, I think, more than it helps.
Yeah. I'm not a queue guy. I'm not a QAnon guy. I'm not a draft queue guy. I get it.
People are really hoping you're going to come out pro QAnon. That's what everybody on the channel's been waiting for. It's like Pete seems like he's so smart, seems like he's got it all together, but he's got to be something behind the veil, and it's that he's a big QAnon guy and a big Pizzagate guy.
Yeah, I try to keep that close to the vest. Michael says, "Is it pronounced Prosh or Prochet?" I honestly don't know. I just say Prosh. I could very much be wrong on that. I don't have the confidence that I do with Albert Akui-Bunam. I have no idea on Prosh and Prochet.
Which interpretation of his last name would make him sound like a better fantasy player? Because I think it's Prosh than Prochet.
Prosh is Prochet feels so stuffy and pretentious. It feels like he would just get a nick and then, prance off the field.
Yeah, Prochet is like, this Frenchman at receiver. How could we trust him, especially on 4th of July week? How could we?
Yeah.
It's actually Proc. I'll say Proc sounds the most powerful out of all of them.
It does.
All right. This draft, we did recover pretty well. I think this team is not bad. I still just hate taking running backs early, but we got to do it sometimes, right?
Spags, it's either quantity or quality. We got two good ones at the top. I like this build.
It is. I have been much more quantity. I will say tomorrow I'm planning on doing the RotoViz Explorer to open my solo stream just to show exactly why I draft the way that I do. Because I've now spent, Pete, a disgusting amount of time on your account on the RotoViz Explorer and having a lot of time building teams. But boy, I think it's a compelling argument to be made that will be presented on tomorrow's stream.
Wow, I'm excited to see it.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you'll be
your
dying.
second hit.
Pros.
I'm telling you. There we go. It's like there's no world in where go to GA's team.
Wait, which one are we going with first?
I kind of like Wallace over Duvernay, but I don't know.
All right, why not? All right, GA definitely took it. He did the old Josh trick.
Oh no! Wow. Okay, at least he has Lamar. That makes it less egregious.
You know, I think GA at one point, like GA sniped us a lot on streams in general, and I do think he was like, "No, it's just I swear I did do it on purpose. I did it because it like." So I think he's one of those guys that's deliberately trying to not fuck us over.
Tyler says, "I hate Ravens wide receiver 2 bringbacks. Feels like such a poor bet." I mean, go look at the queue, Tyler. show me who's such a much better bet at this point in the draft. Odell Beckham. Yeah. Who doesn't even have legs. Show me the other wide receivers that are better bets here, Specs. LaVisca Chenault. Okay, maybe a better bet. Justin Ross might not make the team. Randall Cobb, the Packers wide receiver 9. There's no opportunity cost there. And that's why the correlation is just like the easy tiebreaker. And there's like big opportunity. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You got to go. So we don't need to look at the teams. We need to sauce anybody here. But yeah, like I'm with you overall. Like I think we just take one of the players, just hope that it works out, and we'll take the different ones, right, Pete? Of course, like we were drafting all summer long. We can take Proch another day. We could take Duvernay another day. We can take whatever guys we want.
Well, yeah, and we always joked around. Pat had this thing last year where it was like you'd have your flavor of the week late round pick where it's like, oh, whatever running back's getting buzz or that you're into for that week, and you draft a bunch of them and then move on. Like one of Pat's last year was Ramondre Stevenson. He drafted him for like 2 weeks, then moved on. I mean, as long like the two things I think about with my late round picks is, am I correlating, and is this guy not getting drafted in every draft? And that's a big bonus for me because you're now starting to see, and we'll still see shuffling on this, but you're seeing some of those guys that we were looking at, like a Brian Robinson is like, you know, a great example. And I can think of a few others that are just like getting drafted in like 95 to 100% of drafts as like that final one. And then the player just below them, like, is Brian Robinson like that much better of a bet than Tyler Beatty? Sure, maybe we can squibble over like a 5 percentage point more likely to hit thing. But it's like Tyler Beatty's going to be drafted in like 10% of these, and Brian Robinson's going to be drafted in 90% of those. So those are the two things I think about late. And so I'm happy to go dig further down in the dumpster for Prochet, if it means I'm mixing it up and getting a more unique guy.
Would you ever draft Mike Davis in the 18th round?
No.
He's currently running with the ones for the Baltimore Ravens, Pete.
Well, everyone must be out sick or something, or maybe it was like a Make-A-Wish thing.
Pete, what's the plug here? Of course, randomizer coming up tonight with Mike Leone, right?
Yes. Randomizer with Leone. That'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern. Looking forward to that. And Brian and I, our schedules were out of sync today. But I think we're going to pre-record a little Best Ball Lulz episode tonight, and I'll probably drop that tomorrow.
Pre-recorded content. That's a new. You and Brian have never pre-recorded, right?
Well, because we want to do, people are still have questions about the brick draft caddy and how to use it a little bit. So we're going to try to do a bit more of a tutorial on that as opposed to just, you know, having the chat bark at us for an entire episode.
Demand you dance for them like the clowns you are. Yes, I actually have to install that into my Mozilla this weekend, so I actually should prioritize doing that. Pete, of course, should be followed at Peter Overzet. Check out all the content he's doing. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow at Splash Play Pod. Of course, subscribe to the Pete's channel. Subscribe to the Splash Play channel as well to get my exclusive solo stream coming up tomorrow. And check out Football Outsiders too. We're rolling out some of the packages. I think our projections for the preseason rankings and all of that are available right now at footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. So check that out as well. And Pete and I will be back on Monday at 2:30. So please enjoy your weekends and check out Randomizer coming up in a few hours. Bye.
Peace.